So like,
hold on, I want to make sure I'm muted here. Oh, I need to mute myself.
Yeah, if you all want to mute yourselves.
Hey, Sam, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes, I can hear you.
Okay.
If you could all mute, we are now broadcasting live on YouTube, and I'm going to ask and introduce each of the film teams before we get into the discussion to make sure everybody is going. Welcome, YouTubers. If you have questions for the film teams, make sure and email them to Des Moines at 48hourfilm.com. Welcome, everybody. My name is Samuel Pace Twomey, and I am the producer of the 48 Hour Film Project here in Des Moines. I am joined with some fantastic film teams tonight, and also my assistant Mandy is on the call with us. Our goal tonight is to have a Q&A regarding the films most of you just saw in 48 Hour Film Project's 2020 edition, Screening Group B. So the first thing I'm going to do is check in with our teams and find out who we have with us tonight. Teams, after I say your name, go ahead and unmute and say hi to everybody. First, how about Working for Exposure?
What's up, everybody?
Hello, good evening. All right, how about Sliding Rock Productions? Okay. All right, let's go to Gladhouse Studios.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, LaWayne, welcome tonight. All right, how about One Genome Short Productions?
Hello, everybody.
Hey, Gabe, nice to see you tonight.
Ditto.
And then let's also check in with Team Tiny Explosions.
Hey world, I'm Patrick with Team Tiny Explosions.
All right, and looks like I missed Lightsmith Media. Let's go ahead and say hi.
How we doing?
All right, well, I just wanted to make sure I have everybody here. Those are our film teams that are on the call with us tonight. What I'm going to be doing is I'll be asking a series of questions, and then I will actually throw it to a specific film team for an answer. So then when I go to you, you're welcome to unmute, and then we'll start this discussion. First of all, let me welcome you all to this Q&A session and congratulate you all on your films that you made. It was quite a great screening tonight. So congratulations to all of the film teams. Let's go ahead.
Woohoo!
Yeah. Woo! I want to know a little bit more about your film teams. So when I call on you, I'd like you to tell me, again, the name of your team, and then how many years that you have done the 48 Hour Film Project. And we'll go ahead and start with Tiny Explosions.
Tiny Explosions, we started doing the 48 Hour Film Project as Tiny Explosions in 2011, and about a third of the team did it a year before with another team who was leading it called Team Mystery Box. So I guess it's technically our 10th time doing it.
Very good. How about One Genome Short? How many times have you guys done the 48?
Well, we've done it for 15 years in a row. Yeah, and we also did the stay-at-home challenge, the third of the stay-at-home challenges this year. So we've done 16 films in 15 years, roughly. So.
Wow. All right, Lightsmith Media.
I've done it. This is my third year I've done it. I skipped last year. I always have something random going on during the event. So I kind of am hit and miss, but everyone else on my team has never done it before. So it was fun.
Very cool. All right. How about Gladhouse Studios?
Gladhouse has been doing this for 6 or 8 years. I haven't always been there, but the team has been.
And LaWayne, do I remember correctly, were you involved in some of the early 48s in Des Moines?
No, I haven't been. Probably the last 6 or 8 years I've been in and out depending on the teams.
Gotcha. All right. How about Working for Exposure? How many years have you guys done the 48?
For me personally, this is my 4th year, but for my team, this is our 2nd year doing it. We did our film movie night last year, and then we all came back again this year. So team-wise, it's our 2nd year.
Oh, very nice. Our first question that we're going to be sending to you tonight actually comes from the web. It comes from Kevin Smith, who is a former film team and participant. His question is, how did you come up with the idea for your film, and what is your, if you could describe your process? And let's go ahead and start with you working for Exposure. How did you come up with the idea for your film, and what was your process like in a nutshell?
So I was the writer on the film. With the category we got was sci-fi, and I just immediately, when I got sci-fi, I immediately thought Blade Runner. I don't know why that movie came to mind first, but I think that's one of the best sci-fis out there. And so I thought, what's a good way we could try to do a Blade Runner like film in 7 minutes or less? And so I feel like that it was just more of a fun experiment, because I had never really done a noir kind of story like that before, and it was fun. You know, it was just a quick little idea that we tried to expand into a 7-minute film. So yeah.
Very nice. Lightsmith Media, tell us a little bit about how you came up with your idea.
Well, we had a couple beers and sat around in my office and just started talking, and might have had a couple too many, because 3 o'clock rolled around and we had a full script written, and we read it and we go, wow, that does not fit any of the things that we got. So 3 o'clock, we rewrote a script until we had to shoot at 7, so we didn't go to sleep. So we wrote from 3 to 7 on the new script and went to our shoot at 7:30. So that was fun.
Wow. Generation Gap from Gladhouse Studios. Tell us a little bit about how you came up with your idea.
Well, we had noir or comedy. So we spent about an hour and a half trying to come up with a noir and quit and went with comedy instead.
What was it about the noir that just wasn't working?
We had like 2 people, and the look of noir is so specific and didn't really feel like it fit anything we were going to be able to do this particular weekend.
Very good. Team Tiny Explosions, how did you guys come up with the idea for your film?
Our general process is we all convene this year, socially distanced outside on a patio. Well, not a patio, but a big like concrete area. And we generally have a whiteboard where we put our genres up and the elements. And then I give everyone about 90 minutes to an hour, 90 minutes, to come up with ideas. And after, if we're out of steam, then we move on to picking one that, like killing the ones that don't have stories, and then killing the ones that aren't fun or we don't think we can pull off or don't have locations for. And then it's a knife fight for the last couple. This year, that was not the case. We had one idea about going back in time to kill somebody's grandpa. And then someone said, what if somebody goes back in time and is mistaken for being Spanish? Because they're always mistaken for being Spanish. And then we just kind of went from there. But yeah.
Very nice. One Genome Short, same question to you. How did you come up with the idea for your film?
Well, first I want to say hello to Kevin. Hope you're doing well and you and your family are happy and healthy. Thanks for the question. And yeah, I think this year was easier than many of the years that we've had. We often struggle in the writing phase. And I think that we can thank the pandemic for that a little bit. I think sometimes we found that writing in large groups is more difficult. And because of the pandemic, we had a much smaller group than we normally have. So I think that kind of helped us narrow down the idea pretty quickly. We latched on to an idea almost right off the bat. Somebody threw out the title, and then we kind of went with it. We kind of riffed on it. And so I think strangely, in spite of the fact that we were all working remotely, it somehow made it easier in that part of the process.
Oh, very good. Before I go further with the questions, I just wanted to address the ballot situation. last night there were some questions. If anyone that's watching us or anyone on your film team contacts you and said they have an issue with their ballot, please email us at DesMoines@48hourfilm.com, and we'll make sure that you get your ballot counted. You don't have to have it in till just before midnight tonight. So if anyone is worried about that, or team leaders, if they contact you, simply send Des Moines at 48hourfilm.com an email, and we'll make sure that they get their ballot situation rectified. Did you guys, were you all able to vote? You can simply say yes or no.
Yes.
Yes.
Yep.
I haven't yet, but I voted last night. I expect I'll be able to tonight too.
Well, good. Good. We like to hear that. Just the other day, after we had everything planned, I was saying that we're kind of at the mercy of technology, but I have been just blown away by what you can do when you're forced to come together in different ways, and especially in the exhibition of films. It's so great. It looks like we have another person that's going to be joining us here, which is great. That way we get another film team joining us. It may take him a second. And I believe this is going to be Corey Henderson from Sliding Rock Productions. Are you with us, Corey? Looks like I've got video, but no audio for Corey. So when you're forced, there you go. Hey, Sliding Rock, welcome. Now you might need to unmute yourself.
I had to unmute it, so I'm here.
Oh, very good. Well, while you're here, why don't you tell everybody what team you're with and how many times you guys have done the 48?
Sliding Rock Productions. This is, I think, the 5th year we've been doing it.
And, we kind of got up to speed with some of the other film teams. I guess we'll ask the same question of you that we did of them. How did you guys come up with the idea for your film this year?
We just sat around. We threw out a bunch of different ideas. I think some of the guys on the crew, they like some of the movies that. Chris, what was that movie that you? Wasn't there a movie that you liked that kind of went with this? You don't remember. I don't remember. We were up until we're talking about till about midnight. So I don't know how I don't remember how you came up with this idea.
All right. Well, welcome to the Q&A. We're glad you guys came on. We're just in the middle of some questions with our film teams. And just a reminder, I'll call on the film team before the answer so that you can unmute. And if you want to mute in between, feel free to do so. So let's go on to our next question. This is one that we like to ask every year, but always get a different answer. We're going to ask you what your favorite part of the filmmaking weekend was and the most challenging. And let's start with Tiny Explosions. What was your favorite part of the weekend and what was the most challenging?
The favorite part was probably everybody getting together, even though, we try to keep our distance and I wore a mask every time I was within 6 feet or manning a camera. And, it's just a barrel of laughs whenever, you get the chance to do this every year. Even if you're not making a comedy, I think everybody has a great time doing it. And the hardest part was probably when in our film, he travels back to 1918. It really wasn't that hard this year as far as things go. I guess we had to go out to the middle of this field, but that wasn't too far off a path. And I had to edit everything in my basement where normally the other production team, 2 or 3 guys, can come over, stay the night, and we can trade off and we can polish it up here and there. So it was kind of all on my shoulders at that point, but nothing like camera fell apart and, no fist fights in the street or anything like that.
Well, that's good to hear. Working for Exposure, what was your favorite part of the weekend and the most challenging?
I'd have to say probably our favorite parts were definitely the writing process, just because we were excited to do something new, because from the previous 2 years, we had gotten a vacation/holiday film 2 years in a row. So this was the first year in a while that we got to do something different, which excited us. So we were playing all this stuff out. Ben was full of ideas on what to do with the script. We were just really excited going into it, and it was a lot of fun to do. In our film, we have that chase sequence, the car chase sequence. That was fun, but also super scary because you're driving cars and narrow roads, and everybody's just wanting to make sure that you're not crashing into stuff or whatever. But it was a lot of fun to do. The hardest part was, like probably a lot of people would say, would be editing. Like, because myself and our cinematographer Caleb Stevens, we traded off editing. Like, I started editing back at the house while they were still out filming, like at 11 o'clock at night. So and then that, like, I edited from like 11 till 3:30 a.m. and then Caleb took over from 3:30 to like 9 or something like that. So we kind of had a formula what to do with, and it was very exhausting. We did not get much sleep at all.
No one ever does.
Yeah, we took a lot of hot showers were taken to wake us back up during Sunday. So yeah, that part was very difficult. We turned it in maybe like 30 minutes before the cutoff, which is probably a little bit too close for comfort, but hey, if it's in, it's in.
Absolutely. All right, Sliding Rock Productions. What was your most challenge, or pardon me, your favorite part of the weekend and your most challenging?
Oh, the favorite part was probably just getting together with everybody and working on a film. We had some really great scenes where things happened that just added to the film that we didn't plan on. And so, like the crime scene in the vehicle with the donuts, that wasn't planned, but that was a lot of fun, filming that. The most challenging, it's always audio. The wind is always bad, but this year we had equipment to help deal with that. So,
Very good. Gladhouse Studio, why don't you tell us what was your favorite part of the weekend and your biggest challenge?
Well, certainly one of my favorite parts was not having the soul-crushing heat and humidity that we usually have. No, the best part was probably that we got to work with the new actress, Ellie Feingold, who is the daughter of our editor, and introduce her to filmmaking. So guess what her new favorite thing is? The hardest part is the same thing that it always is, that it always feels like you never have enough time, and that's, I know that's sort of a cliche answer, but that's kind of our biggest issue. We had some outdoor stuff, so the sun was always against us, and that kind of thing. And so, I mean, it's not as big as having to shoot half your scene in a field, but it was probably the biggest issue we had was just, getting the timing right for the look of stuff.
Very good. Lightsmith Media, same question to you. What was your favorite part of the weekend and the most challenging?
Favorite part was probably just getting together with my buddies and coming up with ideas on Friday. I mean, that was fun just because we were just trying to make each other laugh the whole time, and that was kind of our goal, was to make the guy next to you laugh. And then shooting it was great too. I mean, we had a lot of bloopers, so that was fun to kind of put that in the credits. I'd say the hardest part was the lack of sleep. So like, I'm the only one on the team that has any experience shooting or editing or anything. So I was kind of in charge of all that stuff, but I also was the one that stayed up all night to finish writing the script. So I had zero sleep the entire day of shooting. But luckily I had my buddy Mike was the script supervisor, which was the smartest thing I think I did the whole weekend, was be like, hey, you have to tell me what I have and I haven't shot. Because I'd be like, all right, we're done. He's like, nope, you forgot a whole scene. I'm like, okay, let's do that. So yeah, I think that was the hardest part, was just the lack of sleep, but I think everyone deals with that. So, but the funnest part was just hanging out with my buddies.
Oh, very nice. All right, Gino, what's your response to that? What was your favorite part of the weekend and your most challenging?
Well, I think one of my favorite parts is working with such great actors like Michael Davenport and my two sisters. I just really think they're fantastic, and it's fun to give them kind of a framework to work within, and then let them riff on it a little bit. And so it's always fun to work with them. And we did this entirely remotely, which I think was the most challenging part. That was the hardest because, we don't have the same cameras. We don't have audio equipment for everybody, that kind of thing. So that made it extra challenging, but it was also kind of exciting to see the footage coming in, because I didn't know exactly what to expect. And like I said, we just kind of gave them a framework, let them riff on it, and then we just took some of the best stuff and put it in the film. So.
Great answer. And while I have you here, let's go right into the next question because your answer
Okay.
actually leads into that.
Okay.
What differences did you notice having done this, 15 years? You've done this longer than I have, and probably a lot of film teams have. What difference did you notice because of the pandemic, if any?
Well, yeah, we chose, just because of the nature of the pandemic right now, we chose to work entirely remotely. I mean, we didn't necessarily have to, and we also kept the team smaller. And some of that stuff was challenging, but some of it was actually maybe a benefit. Having a smaller team and having to wrangle fewer people and that kind of thing was actually kind of made things go a little more smoothly. We didn't have to worry about communicating what's going on with everybody and getting everybody in the right place at the right time and all of those kinds of things. So that I think that the biggest thing was, not getting together. And like a lot of other people have said, one of the best parts of it is getting together with all these people and just having a good time and having a good laugh and that kind of thing. And so that's a little disappointing, but it also forced us to be a little bit more efficient, I think, and kind of just, it's like adding another element to the whole 48. Okay, we're going to give you a genre, we're going to give you a line of dialogue and a character and a prop. Oh, now we're going to give you a pandemic too, So like, it kind of added another facet to the whole challenge. And fortunately, we had a little bit of experience having done one of the stay-at-home challenges earlier in the year. So we had a little bit of a process in place from that. So anyway.
Very good. Gladhouse Studio, how did the pandemic affect your filmmaking weekend?
Well, I think the biggest issue, well, not so much issue, the biggest change was the entire 48-hour process. The submissions of the materials and everything else was sort of a thing because you're always afraid that it didn't, something broke down partway, like, okay, your film was uploading, great, awesome, and then did it make it? Because I had to walk away and do something or whatever else. There still feels like a certain, I don't know, there's something that feels more secure about physically taking your movie down to turn it in and stuff like that. I mean, it was way more efficient to upload it, but I spent like the next 24 hours deathly afraid that somehow it wasn't going to have made it in or whatever. And then like everybody else, we had to keep everything a lot smaller. We only had, 3 cast, 3 crew. And we tried to sort of minimize being anywhere or doing much of anything. We stayed more or less in one location. And those were probably the biggest issues.
Gotcha. Working for exposure, how did the pandemic affect your filmmaking weekend, if at all?
Yeah, there was definitely a lot of differences between this year and last year. Like last year, well, for one thing, last year we filmed the entire thing all in a small apartment, which now these days would probably be very frowned upon. But like, this is usually done like during the summer. And like, like this year, 2 key members that we had last year, we did not have with us, like our music composer, Kenan, we didn't have him because he was back in college by that point. And our friend Eric had moved out of town by that point. So that was a blow to us. But at the same time, we were able to meet some different people and work with new people, which, that's always a new experience of meeting a bunch of new friends. But it's also a positive because now you get to make these more connections and you get to see what their talents are. So we tried to see as a positive way like that. But no, there was still troubles of like, disinfecting the equipment constantly, staying socially distant, and like has been said, like the thrill there wasn't, when you go to deliver your project in person. I mean, it probably at the moment everybody hates it because it's like, oh man, I gotta drive this and that to get there on time. But as was said earlier, it's kind of like, oh, without that this year, kind of was like, oh, I don't have that thrill getting in my car and edit while you're driving, not editing while you're driving, but having someone in the back of your car editing while you're driving. We definitely have experience with that. So I don't know. We just mainly try to see it as a positive way of, look, yes, we're in this situation, but let's try and make the best of it. We don't have the same people as last year. let's find a way to involve them as much as we can, but at the same time, let's meet some new friends because you never know what skills and talents they have.
Yeah, just roll with the punches.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Sliding Rock Productions, how did the pandemic affect your filmmaking weekend, if at all?
Well, we kept the crew real small. We only had the 3 actors, and then we had and they kind of doubled as the crew too. So we kept it pretty small. We tried to do the social distancing, but when you're making a movie, it's kind of tough to do when you got actors that are, have to be kind of close together. But everything, probably 99% of our film was filmed outdoors due to the pandemic. We wanted to keep the indoor very limited. So there's only 2 little scenes in ours. So the pandemic too, with all the online, uploading the videos and stuff, it kind of took away some of that, the fun of driving to the drop-off site, thinking you're the last one there when you see 4 or 5 other people all driving up, crazy like, and to drop off their film too. So, so that changed it a little bit. And I liked it where you actually drop off the film though. So.
Absolutely. Lightsmith Media, how did the pandemic affect your filmmaking weekend, if at all?
It didn't really affect it that much. I loved the uploading system. I thought that was amazing. Didn't have to drive downtown. It gave me an extra half hour to edit, which I used. And I didn't even look up the instructions to how to do it until like 10 minutes before it was due. And it was so simple that it worked. So not to make this a commercial for that, but yeah, that was really nice. So, I mean, we were all pretty socially distanced when we shot, but we're all close friends. So we've been around each other, kind of kept our circle small and didn't go out in public that much. So, yeah.
The bar we had to shoot early.
Very good. Tiny Explosions, same question to you. How did the pandemic affect your filmmaking weekend, if at all?
Well, in the lead up to this, there was the safe sets test that we weren't required to take as team leaders, but we were encouraged. So I took that, and I mean, it just kind of reinforces things that I think people know. And one of them is that I think it was 14 or 18 times safer to shoot outside. So I said, I'm only going to shoot outside. I have a child on the way and I don't want my pregnant wife to get sick. So I was like, no one can come within 10 feet of me. And so also I wanted it to be the smallest cast we ever had for a 48. And if they were on camera, they had to be people who had spent time together recently or were in a relationship. And of course, the 2 people who are exchanging spit and rubbing like a towel on your forehead and on the other forehead, they're married. So, it worked out. And also in the middle of it, pandemic, this is just something that not related to filmmaking, but as part of this whole situation, we're on Zoom right now, but I had a baby shower scheduled at 2 o'clock in the afternoon on Saturday that I had to go to. So, I mean, this is just a Zoom, right? If it were a physical event, I would have been like, okay, it would have been some lead up and I probably would have said, no, I can't do that. But, carve some time out. It's just the wonders of the pandemic. And I guess other than that, it was pretty smooth.
Oh, very nice. Allow me to address that question as well for the 48-hour film project. I'm answering my own questions. This year was a big challenge for us. As things evolved, we didn't know if we were going to be able to have the event at all. And it was through the dedication of some of the international headquarters staff that Cinema 48 was actually developed and rolled out within a series of months to allow film teams to upload online and actually make the entire process possible. There were some kinks, and I'm with a lot of the film teams. I love the in-person. That's a big part of what the 48-hour film project is. And we will be back to in-person drop-off, but it may be a hybrid. It may be if some film teams like Lightsmith wanted to upload it directly, fine, no problem. We have a system and mechanism in place for that now, including that checksum, which guaranteed if you started uploading that you were counted on time. But for those that also like to be in person, we're going to work that in too when it's safe. And I'd love to say that that's next year, and I really hope to hell it is. But we will get back to in-person screenings and in-person events. We will get there. but it may take us a while. And we really appreciate everybody watching and all the film teams last night and tonight alike for braving it and just doing it and just being a part of it. So that's all I'll say on that right there.
Hey, Sam.
Yeah.
Can I add a little something?
Sure.
I just want to say that it's also great to have you back as the local producer.
Here, seconded.
Yes.
Well, thank you.
And I think you were instrumental in making this go so smoothly here in Des Moines. So I just wanted to be able to say that and say thank you.
Well, I don't vote for the final outcome, right?
Oh,
You can take it
well,
back. You can take it back.
It's still okay to have you
No,
back.
it's still
I guess.
valid,
I don't
but-
know. Crap. What?
Very good.
Who do I have
Very
to talk to?
good.
Thanks,
No,
Sam.
I really appreciate that. And, I missed the 48 Something Fierce. So for those of you that don't know, I produced it for about 10 years, then took a few years off for very varied of reasons. And when the opportunity came open, because Katie had another job opening that she had to move on to, I really wanted to get back involved, and being back involved with the film teams has really energized me. But I don't want to talk about me. We're here to talk about you guys. But thank you very much. The sentiment's very much appreciated. Our next question, Gabe, we'll just start with you since you're up. Now that we're about 11 days outside and we finished, this is a variation of a question we had last night. What would you do differently for your entry if you could?
Yeah, I remember that question from last night, and I probably should have actually prepared, made some notes. Well, it's always hard. Every year I think of something we could have done differently. We had so much footage. I just don't know how we could have. I wish we could have fit in more of our footage because we had some really great stuff. Like I said, we had actors that just kind of took it and went with it. And we had a lot of great stuff, but in order to get it under time, we had to cut out so much. So I don't know. I think this year went pretty smoothly. It's our film's not perfect by any means. But I'm not quite sure what I would do differently other than trying to fit more of the jokes in. We just had too much. So.
Okay. All right. Well, looking forward to that bonus cut or that blooper reel from
Right. That might happen.
from pretty much everybody, actually. That's always one of my favorite parts of seeing a different side of production. Let's go to Slide and Rock Productions. What would you have done differently now that we're 11 days out?
Oh, well, getting to the blooper reels. A lot of times I like to add those at the end during the credits. This year, I didn't even think about it. I'm just so busy trying to get everything else ironed out that I just kind of forgot about that. So I love the blooper reels. I love those at the credits. So that's what I would do different.
All right. Sounds good. Working for exposure. What would you guys have done different now that we're about 11 days out?
I can't really honestly think too much to come to mind because I don't want to just come and give the cliche answer and say, well, if I had more time. I'm not going to say that, but I think last year when we did movie nights, we came out of that just with such a good feeling because we didn't have any tensions on set. Everything ran smoothly and we just had a really good time. We wanted to replicate that this year, which I did feel like we did, even under all that enormous stress of, like I said earlier, having different crew, having different locations, different equipment, different requirements, that stuff like that. Yeah, that's a tough one to answer. I don't know. I still feel like for what we had, we made it work. Like I had said, my friend Ken, that I said that he wasn't able to join us on crew, but we were still able to get him to do the score, even though he was on the other side of the country because we did some creative thinking. So I think, I don't know. I really wouldn't do anything more. If anything, I guess I just wish we were able to do some more stuff, more ideas that we had in the script, but obviously had to be cut because of time reasons. But I still feel like we were able to make good with what time we had. So I don't really have any regrets. I don't think the team really has many regrets. I think it was pretty smooth.
All right. Gladhouse Studios. What would you have done differently now that we're 11 days out?
Well, one more pass on the audio, apparently, after having seen it again, and maybe a second camera. Otherwise, I don't know what else we would have or could have done much differently. we've gotten along well enough doing this that it works pretty smoothly even in the middle of the pandemic. So I'm pretty satisfied with where we were.
All right. Very good. Tiny Explosions. What would you have done differently?
Let's see. We spent probably 6 hours total filming it. And that's because I knew I was going to have to edit it all. And I had the thing in the middle of it and, the pandemic, and I just didn't want people to be around each other that much. So I wish if there were no pandemic, I wish we would have spent, the normal full day on Saturday filming. Also, there was a lot that we cut out of the film. And of course, if you make an assembly edit, which is, just everything in there that you shot, then you cut down to get to time. And then you're like, oh man, I really wish this was in there. Sometimes that stuff doesn't need to go back in. Like we'll have a web release that has a couple bits more from when he's time traveling, but nothing else. And I also wish that watching it now that I always watch our things and wish there was just a little bit more action in it. Like, like Aaron Sorkin style, walking and talking at the very least. But, running through the prairie field could have been pretty cool. Would have been a really cool shot. But again, we were up against it with time. We were right at 7:59 or whatever when you get that minute for credits, or 6:59 for the movie. So I don't know if we really could have. But of course, there's always the additional stuff, like Gabe was saying, that you could put on for the extended version.
Very good. Same question to Lightsmith Media. What would you have changed now that you're 11 days out?
We kind of got in a tunnel script writing. So when we were making each other laugh, but it was we didn't really change our story that much. So I probably would just change the fact that we should have been open to it, because it all just started with one joke and then we just beat that thing into the ground for 3 hours while we were just messing around. And then a couple of people left and it's time to actually write the script. And yeah, so it was I don't think I would have changed much though, because at the end of the day, I'm happy with how it turned out. So yeah, I don't think I would have changed much.
All right. Well, why I have you on here, Lightsmith? A question from the web. Did you guys have any problems when you had all those guns out?
We didn't have them out that much. We had them in a trunk. So
On private land.
on private land.
Okay.
So, and they were one of my buddies. They were all his guns, and he made sure they were clear. And the only time anybody touched a real gun was when the actor picked it up, and I was the other actor, and I pushed it down and said, don't pick that up. So, and there was no clip in it, and the chamber was cleared. So yeah, we didn't have any issues with it, just because we were on private land. They were in the trunk.
Very good. Just a personal question. You can raise your hands if you want. I noticed a lot of murder in the entries this year. And if you watch both nights, I think at least 13 or 14 of the films had a murder in them. Raise your hand if you had a murder in your film.
Yeah, I guess we did.
Sort of. It was a robot.
Sort of, yeah.
Yeah.
Little Bishop thing going on there. Very good. Or Data. He's closer to Data a little bit. But no, it's funny, especially in A, I think when I was screening these originally, someone I was watching them with was like, is murder a required element this year? And I'm like, no, but it does kind of reflect some of the angst from this year. So there you go. And I hope to hell some organization got a mask as their prop this year, because that would have been an easy one to make sure you had in there. Okay, I'm going to go. I have one more question, and then I'm going to kind of give you guys each a minute or two to kind of say whatever you want about your teams or your experience. My last question, though, is, and we'll go ahead and just start with you on this one, Gabe. Why do you do the 48-hour film project?
Wow, that's a good question. I think I hate myself. It's quite painful. And, as I've gotten older, it's harder and harder to do. It's harder to stay up that long and stay up all night and stick with it. I think there's a thrill to it though. It's fun. It's fun to get together with your friends and just, honestly, when we've talked about it, and it's strange because it's typically one weekend a year, but we talk about it all year round. We talk about it all the time. And, like, oh, we could do that for the 48, or we could do that. Or, you remember when we did that? And we do things that you would never do at any other time in your life. You would never have a plausible excuse to do the things that you do. Like one of our films, we sucked up spaghetti with a vacuum cleaner. And, it's like, well, if you're insane, you might do that, but otherwise you just wouldn't do it. And so I think that's fun. And there's a real satisfaction in completing a film in that amount of time. And I have to say, one of the things that I miss is the screenings. That it goes along with that satisfaction is going to a theater with a bunch of people and seeing it on a big screen and hearing the reaction of the people. And I think that's why I do it, because the whole process is kind of painful overall, but the end result is just so satisfying. It's worth it.
Very good. Working for exposure. Why do you do the 48-hour film project?
I kind of see it like as a chance to bring out your skills more than you thought was originally possible. Like when I first did this in 2017, I was a grip member for a film production called Human Nature. And we were filming all night long, and it was really exhausting. Like I could barely stay awake by the time we finished, but the end result was great. The next year we did it. That was one of the first years my group did it. We did a film called Open Air. It was terrible. That film can go die in a hole. I never want to see it again. But and then we come back and redeem ourselves with last year with movie night. And we hear like what Gabe was talking about at the screenings, you get people laughing at your jokes, shrieking with fear when you actually do a jump scare right and all that stuff. Like, and it's so rewarding. So then this year we come back into it. It's like, okay, we know what to do, we know what not to do, but this year we have a new challenge because of the pandemic. So basically, I guess I would say is you never know what's going to happen. Every year is always different. You're going to have new crew members, new cast members, and you might have the same ones. But with my team, especially that I'm so happy to be a part of, is that I feel like we all have our own individual skills. And when I say that, I don't mean like I don't mean like that we're wannabes. I personally feel that we all have our own gifts. Like Caleb's the DP, Joe's the director, Kennan's the music composer, Eric's the grip, Ben's the writer, I'm the producer, editor, whatever you want to call it. It's just one of those things that just comes in handy when you have team members who know what they're doing and know how to do this and do that. And it just makes things a lot more smoother. And we always get together before every film right before we start filming, we get together and we say, remember, if you start getting frustrated, say, we love making movies. That way you're reminded that if things start to get tense, you realize don't take it personally. You're tired, you're exhausted. Just keep telling yourself we love doing this for a reason. And of course you're gonna get stressed, but keep pulling through. And that's, I think, what gets us through it. And that's what always makes us want to come back and do more in the future.
Wow, what a great answer. Thank you. Sliding Rock Productions. Why do you do the 48-hour film project?
I do it for several different reasons. One is I like the challenge. To take the genre, the prop, all that, trying to do a good film in 48 hours, it's pretty tough to do. But I also like to, I got crew members that they don't have any training in the film industry. And I like to help them. They like to be a part of it too. And we just have fun as a group. So I enjoy that. As I get older though, I'm like somebody was saying about, not being able to stay up. I was up until 5 this year, 5 in the morning to editing. And I started to doze off and I'm just like, I've got to sleep. I always wonder, why do I do this? Because I have fun. I have fun doing it. But every year though, I take something that I need to work on. And I from previous years, every year I have something else I want to really focus on. And so that's what I do. I focus on something. I try to perfect one part, and then the next year I try to perfect something else. And hopefully in 20 years, I'll have it all down. So that's why I like to do it.
Great answer. Tiny Explosions, same question to you. Why do you do the 48?
Personally, I do the 48 because I love movies, and I have written short films, feature films. I work in broadcasting. I'd love to make a feature film, but that takes time. And 48, and you got to ask a lot of people, and you got to find money. Whereas 48 is kind of like you ask the people that you think can act or are willing to act, and you only ask for a certain amount of their time at a certain. You have set dates. And then you say, I'm only going to need you for an afternoon on a Saturday, which is generally when people are open, or they can make themselves available. So it's like the ability to cosplay being a filmmaker. I've made shorts outside of 48, but it's always like a little bit more of I'm asking somebody to do something for me, and putting out favors. But there's something special about how everything is lined up in 48 to make it happen. See it on the screen. If not here, do this and still be part of a Q&A. And this is still really cool. And and I think for everyone else, they just love make believe. Who doesn't like pretending, doing something silly and having a good time? So I think that's part of the reason we always do comedy or comedy adjacent. So it's a fun event to play around and make believe.
All right. Very good answer. Lightsmith Media, why do you guys do the 48?
I think it's just a different creative outlet. So I, like a lot of the other people in here, do some sort of shooting or editing for a living. But that's always for a client, right? I'm very proud of what I do for a job, but also I have things that I want to do that a client doesn't want, you know what I mean? So I think this just gives me a chance to do that and hang out with my friends, and they come along on my crazy ideas and are willing. So that's fun. So I just think getting together with friends and having a different creative outlet that I don't usually have.
Very good. And last to answer that question, Gladhouse Studio, why do you guys do the 48?
I don't know, man. Gary just calls me every year and says, "Hey, I'm doing this thing again." All right, man. No, because at the end of the weekend, you have a movie. I mean, how many people do that? I mean, we all do it. It's normal for us. We make movies. That's what we do. But like, look around the people who aren't involved in this. What did they do last weekend? Well, they didn't make a movie. I can guarantee you that. And so you just keep doing it. And one of the things we always talk about the time, right? Like how much time you don't have, blah, 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 blah. That also means you don't have a lot of time to think about, should I do this? Can I do this? Will I do? You make the movie. You write the script and you figure out how to get it done because you don't have a choice. Deadlines have been like the greatest creative thing I've ever experienced. And so really I keep doing it because I can keep making movies. And and every time we do this, I've met somebody new. We've added somebody to the team or whatever. And I've then had this other person that I know that I can work with for a different project, or who knows how to communicate with me about a different thing. Or I've had people hire me to work on other stuff because I met them through 48. So it's, if nothing else, it's just because you get to make a movie. I mean, I haven't really had a chance to do anything like that most of this year. I mean, this year's been kind of terrible for creative outlets all around. So yeah, I mean, because we're making movies. That's why we do it. That's why we keep doing it. Even though the end of it every year, it's like, man, maybe we should be done doing this. And we're not. We do it again, and we're going to keep doing it again. That's pretty much it.
All right. Well, we've kind of come to the point of the night where I'm going to give each of the film teams another minute to say whatever you'd like to about the experience or your team, whatever you'd like to say. LaWayne, we got you up with Gladhouse Studio. What are your final thoughts for us tonight?
Yeah, I know this year was weird and it was hard and it was different. and it wasn't the way we'd like to do it. It's not the way we have done it, but we still did it. And I'm super glad, man, that you managed to get this to work. Really, Sam, seriously. We kept watching and waiting. Is this going to happen? Is it going to happen? Maybe it's not, maybe it is, whatever. And it did. And I'm glad I got to participate. I'm glad I got to work with the team I got. I'm glad to see the movies that everybody else produced. I loved a bunch of them. And man, there is no other experience like this. And I'm glad we got to do it. And I'll let somebody else talk and say something, better.
No, that was great. Thank you very much. Working for Exposure, final thoughts from your team.
I guess our final thoughts would be is that we just felt like we had another good year. We definitely will be back. I hope that next year I'll get to be back on the stage with all the rest of you. I know most of you from last year, a couple new faces. Nick says hi, by the way. But yeah, no, I just really main shout out to my entire team, like with Arnie, Hannah, Adam, Akan, and Haley did a great job acting. Evan, Brandon, Ben, Ken, and Joe, and Caleb, great job with on the crew and all the equipment and getting everything done. So it was hard, not a lot of sleep, but in the end, it was worth it. Like it's been said, another film's been done, another film that you can put on the resume, and another one for a reel.
Very good. Lightsmith Media, final thoughts on your experience.
I just so I came into this kind of thinking like everything else this year, it was probably going to be kind of a shit show because of everything is so different, but I just thought it was it was just really well ran. So everything went really smooth. I thought for sure, oh, they're not going to email me some form that I need or something like that was going to happen. But none of that happened. It all just was so smooth how you guys ran it. So I appreciate everything that you guys do and giving us the opportunity to play pretend. So, and Aaron, tell Nick I said hi.
Well, thank you. And everybody that works at international staff and local staff, we do it for you guys because this is why we do it, is the films that you made and screened over the last 2 nights. This may be the smallest year that we've ever had in Des Moines, and I've been lucky enough to be behind the helm for 11 of them, but it sure as hell won't be the last. And I think people will be inspired by the work that you all have done, and I hope that will continue to inspire them so that when we are back together, we have much more people and we just have a huge screening and you can all hear it. So I don't want to take anyone's time away. Let's go to Sliding Rock Productions. Your final thoughts, please.
Yeah, I would like just to say thank you to every team that participated in this, because without every team, we wouldn't have a 48-hour. And I really enjoy it. I think everybody else does. I want to thank you too for the communication. When I've had a question, you've responded to me right away. The communication was great this year. But I want to thank my crew, my cast and my crew. I mean, without them, my movie wouldn't have happened either. And they were just all excellent to work with. And so, Presha, some of you and Paige and Chris and Aaron, we had a really small crew this year, so it's easy to get everybody in. But they were just tremendous, working with, and I really enjoyed working with them. So that's all I have to say, I guess.
Very good. One Genome Short. Gabe, what are your final thoughts?
Wow. Where to begin? First, I want to say thank you to Tosh and Carrie and my family for always being there every year and getting us through it. And then I also want to say congratulations to all of the teams. Congrats on a great year, great films. We all know how hard it is, and just to get it in on time is just really quite an accomplishment. So congratulations. I also wanted to say I'm glad to have you back, Sam, and it's also nice to see Mandy. Hi there. It's nice to see a friendly face again. And then I also wanted to do a little shout out to the youngsters, Aaron there, who mentioned Blade Runner. Having such youngsters who love a classic sci-fi like that is really warms my heart. It's one of my favorite films of all time. So, I just want to say thank you to everybody who made this happen, and it was a good year in spite of it not being that great of a year. So, thank you.
All right. Tiny Explosions, you're the last team. Tell us your final thoughts, please.
Thank you to Sam for still making this such a fun event, even though we're not doing this all in person. You always were. That was the thing I was always surprised about, is how fun you made it, and you're back and making it fun again. Thank you to on my team, Brian Hogan, who's like my co-producer and my spirit animal when it comes to doing creative things. He's always got wacky stuff that we can put in the movie, like this year in 1950s Personal Sauna. John Hoffman, my co-producer, who can do anything that I can do and was willing to run sound, and everyone else on my team, the actors, Joe, was the girl in 1918. She's been a lead in a bunch of our stuff. James, thank you for letting us cement the idea that you're Spanish, even though I'm not sure that you are. I don't know, that may not be you. Anyways, and so our team, but also I like to thank the teams who stay around and do this every year, because I miss it when teams leave. There are so many good filmmakers in this town who for some reason stop doing it. And I know that they make good films, better films than I make. And I just love seeing so many people's work up on the screen or watching on my computer at home. So if you know those people personally, some of them are the judges, which I don't think they're going to watch this. Maybe they are. But you people, you come back and do this again. I don't want to name teams by name, but you know who you are. I'd love to see your work next year and come back and show us how it's done. So with that, just thank you again. And I'm looking forward to doing it until I retire. And even then after that.
Well, very nice. Thank you again to all the film teams. For our YouTube audience, we're going to be wrapping up here in just a moment. After we wrap up, film teams, if you have any questions for me, you're welcome to stay on the call and ask those. Thank you for tuning in for both nights of screenings. What's up next for us? We will actually announce the Best of City lineup on Monday, October 19th on our Facebook page. And then we will have our Best of City screening also on the streaming video provider that you watched tonight on October 23rd at 7 p.m., where we'll be giving away $700 cash, and also some other prizes for a lot of teams. I think the judges have a really hard time this year. Again, personally, thank you to everyone watching that's watched us last night, tonight. Mandy, thank you very much for everything that you've done. All of fans out there at 48. Keep in touch at Des Moines at 48hourfilm.com. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, we want to hear them. Also, if anyone's dealing with any ballot issues, please also let us know. As a reminder, the voting will stop at midnight, and we'll announce the audience choice winner tomorrow. So now, before we sign off to YouTube, go ahead and unmute yourself, and I want everyone to say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Bye. Congrats, everybody.
Good job.